Okay, Bethany, you want to talk about health and safety?
So the health and safety side of things, there's many ways you can think of it, of just either someone just being dehydrated and falling over, or towards the equipment and that side of things. So it's either physical health or like actually the safety around you. So for a performer, if they were performing on stage or recording in a studio, things that you have to think of. In a studio sense, you would have to think of like loose wires. So if there's any wires coming out of like walls or something, they would need to be repaired if they're in the studio, because they're completely different rooms. So the wiring will have to go through the wall, and if it's coming out the wall, then you have to think, can the musician be electrocuted from it and things like that. And then also, if you like miking up equipment, if you're not using electrical like drum kit, you would have to mic up a drum kit separately. So with the wires coming from the drum kit, you'll need them out of the way so the drummer doesn't get tangled in them when they're playing the drums. If there's a musician in the recording studio as well, you would have to make sure they're out of the way of the musician, because even if they're not performing on a stage, they still have their stage presence of how they would perform, because it puts more into the vocals coming out than just stood there straight. So with the miking up the drum kit, as we did previously, we did clip-on mics onto the drum set, but we put the wires through somewhere where the drummer didn't have to see them, and they were out of the way as well. They all led into one big, like not one big cable, but we put them all together so they all lead into the switchboard as one.
Almost
so they
sounds
weren't
like a multi-core.
Yeah, so they weren't all over the place going around the drum kit. They were all going to one place. And also when we we set up the PA system as well. I thought about having the wires with going behind the back line, so they went underneath. No, not the back line, the fold back.
Yeah.
So they went underneath the monitor that we had to go around to the board that we had on the other side of the stage. And also when we did set up the PA system, I did mention to my band the fact that the amp on the amp stands, they should be just a bit wider than the actual amp itself, so for stability, because if the volume is higher, then it's going to vibrate the amp and the amp could just tumble over onto the audience. So you have to think about that. And also for the physical side of being at a performance, you need to think about the levels, because some performances can actually deafen your audience if the volumes are too loud. So you need to think about that. Bottles of water instead of glass of water, if they're near equipment, if they spill over because of the vibrations from the speakers and things like that. It could be, you could literally just have a power cut and things like that, and you need to think about how the wires are going across the stage as well. So if you're a vocalist that moves around a lot, you'd probably think of the equipment you want to use. If you want to use a wireless mic, because then you have more mobility and you don't have to worry about tripping over a cord or things like that. So there's that to it as well.
Cool. Excellent. Thank you very much.